Hi, my name is Shane Booker and welcome to today's deep dive on our core offering. So this is the Control Operator Role Evaluation offering, which is essentially a cognitive loading analysis for industrial operators. I'm with Roku Partners and we're an industrial transformation advisory. We do a lot of work in the remote operations and the control room space, as well as a few other things. But today we are going to very much talking about the core offering. So what we're aiming to do here is to try and keep your operator in balance. We don't want your operator to be overloaded or underloaded. We want them to be nice and balanced in the middle. We're going to do that by assessing 10 areas. So cognition, obviously mental strain, the challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis, but then all of the factors that also build into that. So the environment, HVAC, lighting, acoustics, noise, pollution, those sorts of things. The task area, how cluttered and how is the control operator's desk, the console, designed for human factors, for ergonomics? Is everything within line of sight? Your 15 degrees line of sight, so they don't have to tilt their head to see any critical information. Those types of things. Task support. The systems that support the operator, everything from the HMI through to the radio systems, security and safety systems also. Anything that the operator needs to do to touch to feel to execute their day-to-day job, how do those support systems, how are they impacting the cognitive load of the operator? Contentment, huge one. The emotions that we bring to work really play out in the way that we feel and the way that we interact. So are there tensions inside or outside work? Is that part of the organization? Is it outside of that? Is it an internal or external influence? Goal attainment. Everybody needs to be able to achieve their KPIs at the end of the day. We all have some form of KPI or goal. Are the operators able to do that? Do they feel stressed about it? How is that impacting their workload? Fatigue and stress. We are talking about typical shift worker type of environments, 8-hour, 12-hour shifts, those sorts of things, night shift, strange hours. Is that impacting the role? What is the roster like? And how is that impacting their cognitive load? Collaboration. This is a team sport. Nobody can run an industrial facility on their own. It's very much a team environment. So we need to focus in on how is that team gluing together? What's the cohesion like? And how do we break that down? Adaptability to change. The core offering is typically used by people to evaluate and baseline their operational teams in preparation for some type of change. That might be a process change, new unit addition, change of stock feed, something of that nature, or it might be a technology, HMI upgrades, new control system, new safety system, whatever the change might be. This tool can really give you some data to analyze and back up any use case information that you need to present your information. Physical tasks. Sometimes our operators are out in the field as well as in the control room. How does that impact things? So these are the 10 areas. Each of those breaks down into a deep dive. Today, we are going to deep dive both cognition and task area. To give you an example, if you were to take up the core offering from Roku, this is the type of presentation you would get as an end client. So just to give you a bit of a feel for what it is that you're looking at purchasing. Now, once we analyze all of those, as I said, we'll look to, is the operator underloaded? They'll get a score out in the red zones, or they're overloaded. Again, score in the red zone. You don't want to be underloaded, you don't want them to be overloaded. You want them to be in the middle in a nice balanced position. Just like everybody aims for work-life balance. Not too much work, not too much play. A little bit in the middle is lovely. And it's hard to maintain, it's hard to judge. And we quite often find that a lot of our clients will come back every 2 years or so and reevaluate, just so they can ensure that any changes that may have happened or slippages within the just general day-to-day building of an organization and a culture haven't impacted the operational cognitive loading. Here's an example of what a baseline score would look like. So we graph out each of the markers. You can see in this one as an example that the task support is overloaded. So the systems that the control operator is using are causing some type of impact on the cognitive load of that system. So what we're going to do now is start deep diving both the cognition and the task areas. Just before we do that, a quick little bit of background about the use case that we're working on today. So this is a use case, and it's been anomalized just from a client protection point of view, that we ran quite recently. So site A, it's about 25 years old. It runs 2 operators. It's in the power control domain. It's in a somewhat semi-rural, remote regional area. It's about 50 kilometers from a decent-sized town or population center. Site B is a little bit newer. It's about 16 years old from installation. It runs with 1 operator. It's a newer facility. The process plant is in better condition there. It's not as aged. It's not as creaking, if you will. So that's site B. So 2 existing sites. Now, the new proposed future scenario that we're going to so we're going to execute. So we'll do a baseline on site A. We'll do a baseline on site B, and then we'll do a scenario into the future. And this is to set up a new control room in a populated center, so it's easy to attract talent. This is one of the business drivers that we'll see down here, is improvement in workforce diversity and talent attraction. If we can set up an operating center that's in a decent sized town or population center, it's much easier to attract better and more diverse talent. So we're looking at setting up this new control room, and we want to understand, do we need 2 or 3 operators? Can we run with just 2 operators for both facilities? That's really what we're trying to work out here, and what is required for that shift into the remote space. Dive into cognition. As we said, 10 areas, 37 parameters. For cognition, we have an overall score that we'll show in a second, but we break it down into 4 parameters within the cognition band: mental effort, process situational awareness, decision-making load, and multitasking demand. So let's jump into the first site, site A. Now, as we can see straight away from the results, site A, the overall score, overloaded. This is the older site, so it has more issues. The control room, as you can see from the image, has been bolted on and manipulated and changed, and a new system's been added, and a new screen's been added, and new screen's been added, new screen's been added. Everybody's seen a control room like this. It's grown over time. Somebody's put a stereo in there at some point. We've all seen control rooms with these types of bolt-ons and just creep over time. It's a great chance to reset. Let's take a look. Let's unify a few things potentially. Let's look at what we could do with some new technologies. There's lots of AV technologies that are around today that weren't available before that can unify a lot of this information, bring it all onto one central screen, reduce the clutter on the desks. These are the types of things we want to look at. But the mental effort, just to roll through a couple of quick ones, is quite high because of ergonomics. It's one of the big impacting issues here. There's lots of information. It's disparate. I've got to move my head a lot to find the information that I want, and that takes up a lot of cognitive load, just searching for information. That flows straight into the situational awareness. There's no single point on any screen in this control room that has a car dashboard style overview display. You can't instantly see, is my plant okay? Is there an issue? Is there something I need to dive into? You have to dig through it. In this particular case, from memory, it was about 5 displays that the operator would have to keep up at all times or cycle through because there wasn't enough screen real estate under the system that he needed. That's the sort of things that we're complaining about. Decision making on this particular site, it's variable to external influences, particularly the weather, humidity, and temperature in particular. So you get the summer storms come through and they drop the temperature, humidity really fast. If the operator is not aware of that coming through, it can cause real chaos within the plant to maintain optimal conditions and control. Again, you've got to put an extra screen up. It's always on the view. It's not built into an overview display. There's no warning system. So the alarm summary essentially doesn't have weather on it. These are the types of things that if we can unify and create a simpler platform for the operator, we can really reduce that cognitive load. Multitasking, another one. Again, the control system was put in, then the radio system was put in, and another system for the gate control was bolted on. To do any of 3, you've got to shuffle this chair. it takes a lot of physical effort to move, it takes a lot of cognitive effort to remember where everything is. So it's a very overloaded position for that operator. So there's a lot of changes that we'll recommend in a second to take this client, or this client to remote operations, to that site B. Let's look at site B. Now site B is the other end of the spectrum. Newer facility has a very different culture. Very funny. Same end clients, or same end company. Two facilities. Each facility has its own culture, and everybody that runs a multi-facility organization will understand what I mean there. Site A is not a replica of Site B. This is almost complete opposite. It has a very tidy control system. It's quite well integrated, unifies a lot of sub-packages, so a lot of information flows through to a single HMI for the operator to utilize. Has an overview display. Makes it really easy for the operator to see what's going on. Am I under control? Is there anything I need to be aware of? And off we go. It's not affected by weather. It has a different process. The process runs under automatic conditions more often than Site A. And what we really find here is that the operator is underloaded. We even found that the operator in this instance was proactively looking for extra work to do because he was bored. So in this case, what we need to do is improve the scope of responsibility, give that operator a little bit more work to do, make them a little bit more engaged, and bring them into that balanced position. So on the cognitive side, some of the recommendations that we've come up with for the future scenario in this example, we need to enhance the HMI, we need to combine Site A and Site B, and we really need that overview display. And then, Site A is an older site. We need to pull in some of that weather information to make sure that that is in the overview display because it causes such chaos under certain circumstances. Operator involvement, always a big one in the change. You're going to get a lot of pushback from a 25-year-old site. 16-year-old site, you're still going to get pushback. 25-year-old site, you're almost guaranteed to get pushback because people are very entrenched in that operating mode and that lifestyle and the culture that's been built there. Improved communications is one that we need to focus on. It's a general remove to remote operations type of concept. When we move, they're not going to have that same touch, feel, smell capability because they're not on the local facility any longer. So making sure that they've got regular communication with the remaining field operators is going to be a key thing, and that they're supported in that role. We can see though, if we execute these conditions and we implement these mitigations in the transition plan, we're going to end up with the capability under the cognitive section to run in a balanced mode. And that's the key point here, right? We can execute this. The value that we usually see for this type of solution offering, or offering, should I say, to our clients, is an OPEX reduction. Now, 1 to 20% is very valid numbers. Really depends on the type of change and mitigation that they're making. If you're doing a big remote operations change, you could easily go north of the 20% operation reduction, depending on the transition and the change that you're executing. If this is a simple unit addition to a facility and you're checking to see whether you can spread the operational load onto your existing operators, it still can come in as an OPEX reduction because you're bringing on a new unit without adding in new operators. So thank you very much. So Shane Booker signing off from Roku Partners. Please reach out if you need any more information.